And we're live, guys. That means it's Wednesday. That means it's Leading Women Wednesday. That means your timeline becomes gender specific. All right, we're taking it over. I'm Yalanda at Dryer Buzz, and over here, right over there, is Angela Stalker, and she is my co-host. And we come on and we talk about burning topics. We talk about what women are learning and what women are earning. And we gave you a break last week because we all needed a break. And a lot happened, and so I'm trying to get comfortable here. The debate happened that night, right? So we hadn't had a chance to catch up on the debate, but Angela's going to tell you if she remembers. I can remember. What did we talk about the week before? Y'all go listen. I'll save Angela on this one. Y'all just please go watch. Well, actually, I think we had no, that was after Dr. DJ, right?
Yes, we did. We had a guest. Didn't we have? Did we have Triana on again? Or
well, I thought we did. I thought we had both of them on the same day. But anyway, we're back, y'all. It is October. It's the countdown of my birthday. How many days do I have? It's the 14th, so I've got 9 days.
9 days left.
9 days to my birthday. And the interesting thing about it, I have coerced Petty Betty, and they're giving me these little trinkets every day. So I have been getting some really nice socks as we go into the fall, because I'm always cold, and she likes she doesn't like a high heat bill. So I've been getting all these little cute socks to wear, and so forth. So I'm excited about this birthday. I have not given much respect or thought to my birthday over the last 5 years, and we all know why. Stephanie is on, and Stephanie is on. Hi. Stephanie is probably on because I think it was, I don't know if it was Stephanie that sent me the shirt. I'm wearing a shirt today. It says the equation: pain, purpose, power equals policy. And we definitely want to talk a lot about policy as we get into it. Angela, guess what? Our email is starting to blow up. I saw an invitation today to jump on a call from a group that was talking about COVID-19 and the exit strategy. And I don't know because all I have been talking about this week and last week and my new life is what my exit strategy is as I moved out of blogging and into some other things. I've talked a lot about exit strategy. And so I got you and I were both talking about reading our emails is becoming a thing again now that everybody's working from home, and now that's the primary contact again, now that people can't get to you face to face. So I saw the email and it said, hey, there was a Zoom, and as a matter of fact, I can tell you a little bit about it. Let me see if I can go back to what it was. I'm going to tell you about this because I heard an interesting number, and the way they cited the number is what was interesting to me. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, and shout out to Chris Fleming, who actually sent me this invite. But it was, it says for immediate release, it was advisory for an October 14th call, increased hospitalizations, record number of COVID cases in dozens of states. COVIDexitstrategy.org, United States of Care, resolved to save lives, U.S. Digital Response, and Duke Margolis Center for Health Policy hold a press conference call to discuss current state of COVID-19 data challenges and the upcoming election. And I can already tell you that there were some really interesting people, NPR, Bloomberg, and so forth, that were on this call. And I can already see the headlines from the call are already hitting our timelines. Locally for us, WABE has already posted something on this. But one of the ways they help to make this hit home is, rather than saying, and I heard this is what they said, and this is what I heard. They said 6 out of 7 Americans have not had COVID. 6 out of 7. But that means that 1 out of 7 has had COVID, which probably means we all know somebody that has had it. That has had it. I know we've had 2 family members that got it very early on. Mild cases, simply because they were still in the workplace. And it was during the hot spots, so everywhere. And many of us in one of the ways that our country takes our conversation out of this is by saying essential workers. Right. But a lot of people are still working, guys, and a lot of people are still doing things to keep this country moving. And so we have to be mindful of that. But they talked about an exit strategy. Another key point that I heard was, even if the deaths go down and the numbers go down, that this is something that's going to be around. And of course, we may see lesser strains of it, but there will always be some cases. And so, and of course, even if we get a vaccine, of course, that's where we're rushing to now, is to get a vaccine, because there was a mindset of, okay, what if all the young people get it? But what happens is apparently they realize that young people are still at home.
Yeah.
Young people are still around older people.
Yeah.
And so that's really what the concern, because when you look at how this thing was handled, and our country, and keep in mind, we have to keep in mind a global perspective on this. And I know you deep dive into this thing, so I'm going to let you have it. But for those of us that, this stuff is like just going by us like this, it hit home with me, because it seemed like our country, just as many others, that, they thought this was just going to come through, do what it does, and be gone.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Even our president, he thought we were going to have a great Easter. Come April, it's going to disappear. We're going to go right on back to life, and it has not disappeared. But what they talked about is how this needs to be a part of our planning for years to come. 2021. A lot of people still think, there's going to be a time on the clock that this is going to be done, and that's just not the case. Yeah. Just like we still talk about flu cases, and you notice they're trying so hard not to give us flu numbers anymore, because if they gave us the flu numbers, we really would not pay attention to these numbers, because the flu numbers are well above this thing. Even flu deaths. It's just that. And again, this is how organizations handle it and how media handles it. And we need to make sure that we get more information on this thing. So like I said, they said, 6 out of 7 have not had COVID. Well, then, most of us know that one person that has.
Yes.
And if you break it down, how you identify, it's going to be more, because my thing was going, okay, and for color girls, because, I have to ask that question, is it more than one?
Yes.
Now, I personally know several that have, because you got to think about your 7. Think about your 7. Because on the piece of paper, on the stat, on a line item in these reports, okay, 1 out of 7, well, 6 out of 7 haven't had it. But now look at your 7.
Yep.
And I know for you, your 7 will be you, your sisters, and your caregivers, right?
Yep. Yep.
So think about your 7. Got to already say hello to some people. Stephanie and Belinda is also watching. And guys, and the numbers are going up and up and up. Thanks so much for the likes, the follows, the shares, and the subscribe. And let's get into this now. Now, that's the emotional side of COVID. Angela is going to give us some of that science side. What do you think about jumping on with these guys? Because we can also, there's more calls, and I can make sure that we get the information so we can be in the loop.
We absolutely should. And I like this because there's so much disinformation. I was just reading about voter disinformation and election disinformation. And it's, we've come to think of disinformation as being, QAnon and Republicans, right? But there's liberal disinformation as well. And I'm not a both sidesism person, but still you have to be careful, because it's and because information changes, and the thing with coronavirus, which we don't even call it this now, the novel or the new coronavirus, right? Is that when something like this is new, the scientific method is you come up with a hypothesis, you test the hypothesis to see if it's true or not. So we're still in the coming up with hypotheses phase, right? Where scientists are speculating, maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. And they're sharing this information. They're sharing the research early in hopes that they're hitting it right. The problem is a lot of times they're going to hit it wrong. So, so much of what we heard in the beginning is not true, right? Everything that we thought turns out to be not true. It wasn't purposely not true. That's just the nature of science. Science is an ongoing thing. This is why every 5 years you find out, we're supposed to, coffee's bad, coffee's good. Coffee's bad, coffee's good. Sugar's bad, sugar's good. Because science is evolving. So we like to think that science is somehow something that is set in stone. It's not. So with what we're seeing with COVID, it's going to be ongoing and changing all the time. And I think it's important to try to stay. Now you're talking about here a resource that is legitimate and is grounded in science, because the point that you're making, that your takeaway from this, is that we're looking at something that's going to be with us for a long time. Basically, what is it? SARS-CoV-2. That's the coronavirus, the specific coronavirus that causes COVID, right? That causes COVID-19, is, as what you're hearing is what I've heard, is never going away. It will probably be with us forever. And we're old enough to remember smallpox being eradicated, right? And we're also old enough to
drop that phone. Ooh,
go get it.
Pray for me.
I will.
It's okay for now.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking about polio, right? We still have people around who had polio. So,
and we had recent cases.
Yes. And in fact, polio is not gone. When I traveled, I was, basically in the 90s, I traveled a lot internationally. And when I was going, you have to get a yellow fever shot and things, there's things that you get. I went to a travel medicine specialist, and he said, you need to get revaccinated for polio and measles, because these two are rampant in the rest of the world, and polio reducing. He said, but if you did not have, right, sometimes you'll get an inert vaccine. It's like a dead vaccine. It doesn't work. But if there's no polio around, you're not going to catch polio if you're not fully vaccinated. He said, but if you go into a zone where you have these diseases and one of your vaccinations over time didn't take, you can catch that, right? So I got revaccinated for all the childhood things, and for polio, which is basically gone in the United States. Interesting. I think I just heard that Mitch McConnell survived polio as a child, but I grew up with someone who would have been basically our mom's age, right? Who had polio, and she walked with canes and so forth. So she'd had polio as a child. So there's people living who had polio. So these diseases, even if they are eradicated, when they are easily spread and widespread, they take a long time. So, I mean, it's not to be depressing about it, right? But I think we have to, like I said, we have to think. We're looking at something bigger picture here. Then it's just we're going to be totally back to normal by next spring, right?
Right.
No, but it doesn't mean we won't function. It doesn't mean we won't have ways to go, what things to do. But this is, it's and I'll turn it back to you in a second. But it's very, I know I tend to have this thinking, is if I can just get to this point, if this can happen, then everything's going to be okay, right? Or if this happens, then everything's going to be terrible. If I can just get to this point, so we were saying, if we can just get to the fall, then we're going to open everything up. The school will be open. We're like, if we can just get to the spring, if then thinking, it will set you up for disappointment over and over again. So we've got to be careful that we don't just say, if we make it to a certain date, it's all going to be okay. Right. Because then we're not going to be planning appropriately. And we need to be able to plan, because if we don't plan, I think a lot of this sort of feeling unanchored, a lot of people, I know I still do feel unanchored, where I wake up and I think, what's today? Like when, you're like, it's Wednesday. And I'm like, oh, I guess it is Wednesday. Here we are. How do I know it's Wednesday? We're here. Right. But to have the things that anchor us, not just in the week, but in the year, in the decade, right, of the things that we're doing.
That's a good way to look at this, because we are, and I think we're here because we don't look at far enough ahead in the decade, because and what have I been saying? I mean, we're in the 10th month of 2020, and the thing you talk about depressing, what's depressing to me is that we literally came into 2020 without any kind of plans of reduction. Now, I've been working on reduction. I had a 5-year plan of reduction coming into 2020. So I'm looking around like, oh, okay, I won't be leaving the house in 2020. I kind of had planned that. And it's like, oh, wait, nobody else will be leaving the house?
Nobody either.
We need to, when we think about COVID and things to come, we need to be looking at a decade. And if in your sources, if in your circle, that you guys are not planning either at least 5 years, okay? Yes. At least 5. And remember I talked about I had a 5-year plan. You know, in 2015, okay, we closed the digital divide in 2015. The 20 years prior to that, I had been working on a digital audience, you know? And so when we hit 2015 and then 2020, it's like, I thought I was good. I didn't realize we'd be in a health crisis. But I told you before, even in my community, we did a test in case there was a virus. We had drills. Somebody said the other day, they were talking about our kids and kids having to go through this. And I'm like, well, when we were in school, we had all kind of drills.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, can you imagine? And I woke up this morning, Angela, I was trying to think about, because people talk about our generation. And this is another thing. We don't look at it by decade and we don't look at it enough by generation.
Yeah.
And we were trying to figure out about our generation. And Bill Burr, who was on, we got to talk about Bill Burr as well.
Yeah.
Who was on. Now, mind you, I've been a follower of Bill Burr. Not that I like the guy, because nobody likes the guy. You're not supposed to
does anybody like him?
You're not supposed to like this man, okay? But he has been hilariously funny in talking about race issues, right? And it's like, hey, this is what it is. The one thing that caught my attention about Bill Burr a long time ago was he had a joke about being a white man. And he said, if you're a white guy and you're in a fight, the rest of the white people won't jump in. He said, but you could be a black guy in a fight and be winning, and still every black person will jump in. And so that caught my attention, and I follow him because not back in the day, but not so long ago, let's put it that way, we used to have a comedy radio channel. It came and it went, and that's
I
where
remember.
That's where I found him. And so, and you know me, I despise SNL. So I don't watch Saturday Night Live. I never will. But, you know, of course, the clips the next day. And I was like, Bill Burr? They let Bill Burr on television?
I thought the same thing. They let Bill Burr on television. Oh, my God.
So, and, you know, he had everything to say that everybody wished they could say and wished they were thinking and so forth and so on. I don't even remember where I was going. He's so funny, though.
Well, and I think, you know, the thing about Bill Burr is that, you know, people don't realize he has a black wife, right? And so he has insights.
Stop. No, tell me he does not.
No, he does.
Tell me he does not.
Yes. Now he's married to a black woman. Did
I not know that? I'm trying to think if I knew that or I didn't know that.
His insights on race.
Oh, I know what it was.
You know his story about lotion? He's about white people being ashy.
Right. Oh, I forgot. Because his and I thought I didn't realize he had married a black woman, but he had another joke where he was talking about he like they met on like the subway or something like this. Yeah. And he talks about she lived in Harlem and he was going to visit her, and he was talking about how in New York, you know, everybody was like, you know, because in New York when they give you an address, they have to give you a street and a cross street. I learned that the hard way because I went to Harlem to visit with Reverend Al Sharpton. And then, you know, everybody knows Reverend Al Sharpton on 125th Street. And I'm telling everybody, hey, I need to get to 125th Street. They were like, 125th and what? Because 125th Street is New York, you know.
Exactly.
And lo and behold, so I'm trying to find out the cross street. And I got off at the wrong station. I'm walking miles.
Oh,
you know, they say, oh, just a couple more blocks. Well, New York block is hell, okay? You can go through hell and out. And then we didn't have like Uber and all that. Then you had the gypsy cabs, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm walking, all the gypsy cabs are like, why are you walking through Harlem? You didn't take this ride. So finally I took the ride and they dropped me off right at Al Sharpton. It's a Saturday thing. And Al Sharpton and his assistant was like, wait a minute, you took the train? Well, you should have called us when it picked you up. I'm like,
it's in the car.
I wanted the experience of taking this somewhere. But anyway, so Bill Burr was saying he was going to visit the sister because he had found, you know, he liked the sister. And he said all of a sudden it went from numbers to being named after black iconic people like, you know, Malcolm X Boulevard and so on. He was like, wait, where am I going? So he's hilarious, but also greatly offensive as well. So.
He is, and I think it's important to say that just because a white person is partnered with a person of color
doesn't mean they learn a thing. Doesn't mean they learn.
That's not a pass. But exactly. But he is able to speak particularly to black white race
experience.
issues from being
Yeah,
married. But the one
yeah.
I remember is him talking about white people being ashy, and I was like, many a time I have looked at my own legs, and I'm like, I understand ashiness because I can be ashy, and it's like, but I'm like, but his whole thing is, white people need to learn to use lotion.
Use
So
lotion and the whole cocoa butter and all that.
yeah, he's like, skincare. White people need to learn skincare. And he's like,
It's
literally,
just
he's like, I never use lotion. He's like, oh my gosh.
right. White people not gonna tell you ashy. They don't have a word. They don't have a
No, we
language.
don't.
A
We
language.
don't.
Don't have. You don't have a word for that.
No, you don't even. You would never even tell a white person would never even say to another person, your skin
Honey,
looks dry, right?
Petty Betty, big thing with me right now. You don't moisturize. You just don't moisturize. And hello, I make soap.
Yeah.
And she always says, she was talking, she bought some oils recently, room full of oils. And I'm like, dang, what is all this? I need to learn to make this, right? And she goes, you don't moisturize. So she has this whole, and black people, they got a whole 30-minute moisturize from head to toe. From hair, literally head to toe. And I'm a one ingredient, I'm a one thing for it. Like, look, hey, I'm clean, I'm ready to go. But for people, it can be their pet peeve. Ash, Will Smith, ex-wife, has a product called Whoop Ash, and I don't know if she ever changed the name, but that was something that she came out with early in the day, and I know that because I blogged about it, and she sent me a bunch of those.
But, that's cool.
But guys, listen, let's get back. Decade and a policy. One of the things Angela and I have been trying to figure out about our generation, because when we're talking about leading women, and one of the things that we're seeing is younger women. We can talk about Megan Thee Stallion, younger women coming up and having to get into this fight. And I think simply because one of the titles I gave to today's broadcast is Without Representation. And because I don't think that we did enough in forecasting, and looking at the decade and looking at the generation, I don't, and I think I got on Bill Burr because he said something about a generation. I don't know if it was him or another comedian. Said we were a generation without a name. They couldn't even come with a name for us. We're Gen X, right? Like you have your millennials, and we were the generation from the boomers. You and I talk a lot about having boomer parents, and then them being the children of the silent generation. And so now we have a generation out there that can no longer, they can't afford to be silent. We can afford to not take on the issue. As a matter of fact, I jumped on TikTok yesterday, and there's a woman who she's one of the TikTok dancing women, older lady. She may be at the top end of our generation. I wouldn't say she's a boomer. She may be at the very tip between. And she literally was on live yesterday, and she's a Black woman, and I just said this. And they were asking her about some of the hashtags, and she literally was saying she couldn't get into that because she had followers of all kinds. And I'm like, that's a real conflict, that people have. I'm like, and then she says, you can tell me what you're talking about. She says, but I can't because she's amassed a following. She's got a really good following on there with her dancing. And she feels now that she can't talk about just being a Black woman. And I wanted to say some stuff like real quick, but then I said, let me see if I can assess where she's coming from.
Right.
She now is concerned with the world that offends her.
Yeah.
Her offending somebody else.
Yeah.
Because Tachi's coming in as well.
Oh,
Because all these different people enjoy her dancing, she can't discuss that there were no charges in Brianna's situation. And I'm like, I don't know what that, because I've sacrificed a lot in speaking on these things. I have been disinvited. There are people right now looking at my timeline to approve me for to participate in some things, and they're going to see some content. And I only did it because people said, "Oh, you should do this. You should do." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do it." But what do you think is going to happen when they hit my timeline?
Right.
And they want a Black woman at the table because they want the representation. But wait, a Black woman who speaks out about the injustices happening to Black women?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about this conflict, and let's talk about Megan. Bring in Megan the Stallion, and a very brilliant piece. It was in the what?
New York Times. New York Times.
New York Times.
Yeah.
And under the hashtag, and let me say this, and I was looking it up. Protect Black Women is an event that's happening in Washington this weekend, and I'm hoping to hear something back from that. It looks like maybe some opportunity to go to that. But Megan the Stallion was in the New York Times, and she talked about why she is speaking out. It's an op-ed on the importance of her Protect Black Women message. I felt conflicted there because of what happened to Megan, because we don't know what to tell our daughters right now. And I have 3. And in the coming off, hopefully we're coming off of this reality show, and okay, this is how I was. I don't have the words.
Yeah.
I don't have the words because I don't want to be the one to say protect some Black women. No, I want to say protect Black women, but we have our society says, well, these women too. That's the first thing coming to your mind. Them too. We got the Me Too, right?
Right.
Are we out here going them too?
So so expand on that. When you say them too, who would not be
when
protected?
We think about in the last couple of broadcasts, WAP was famous, and Cardi B, you had Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, right? And then the album came out, and not Black women, but young women, because of the influence of Black women, under the influence of Black women, I'll put it that way. All these young women were running around here saying that they don't have to work, don't have to clean or something to get a ring. Well, the next week, Cardi B was filing for a divorce. So it was like that backfired like really quickly. This Megan Thee Stallion, when we talk about protect Black women, she had to make, me, what's my single issue? My single issue is safety.
Yep.
Right? I can't be around anybody that compromises my safety. And we talked about that. And this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And one of the issues with women in a domestic violence situation is it compromises the safety of everyone else around them, because some are silent with what's going on with them, even though we all can instantly see some of the signs. But it's when you are making the decision to be in a situation, and like I said, y'all, there's no language for this. We are today years old trying to address this as a gender, to say all of us, women is all of us. And that's one of the reasons, Angela, I wanted to do this podcast under the influence of Black women, Michelle Obama. But even going back to Michelle Obama, immediately out of the White House, we got to know a very different Michelle Obama, right?
Yep.
I want us to get to that point where we don't have to be different, from the dancing TikTok woman to Michelle Obama to Megan Thee Stallion. Megan Thee Stallion. They keep showing me this video of Megan Thee Stallion walking backwards to these cops with her feet bleeding. Everybody's like she got shot twice.
Yeah.
But Megan in that moment said she had to protect other people.
That's it.
And that's the thing. You can't protect Black women who have to protect her. We can't protect Megan. That's where I'm at with this. Yeah. It's like those cops who are behind her, she didn't turn around and run to them.
Yeah.
As she was in that moment unsafe, having been shot twice.
Yes.
She couldn't turn around and run to the cops.
Yeah.
Because she feared, one, again, for her life, because there were guns on both sides of her. Okay?
Yeah.
There was the fact she got out of a vehicle that she had been shot twice, right?
Yep.
Couldn't run to the cops because she would have had to say there's a gun in the vehicle, and she was afraid for their lives, the people who shot her.
Yes.
And this is the conflict of protect Black women. Somebody who could burst in my door now, I know I got to defend myself. The last thing I'm probably going to think about is calling 911. I'm just going to be I'm going to whoop some ass. Okay.
Right.
I got to go there like right quick.
Right.
As a Black woman running around here, we talk about being on guard. right?
Yep.
And you and Angela and I, Angela, let's go get coffee. I'm like, Angela, I have to be on guard to go get coffee.
Yep.
You know, and that's the experience you have under the influence of Black women. I'm gonna keep saying that the influence of Black women just want to invite me to go get coffee. You and I are looking for locations to broadcast together.
Yep.
You know, Angela's like, hey, cool co-working spaces. No, I have to be on guard in a co-working space, right? So where we protect Black women, we can't even say that hashtag protect Black women. Here we go. Belinda says, here we go. Because as Black women, my single issue is safety, and there's a conflict there. When I watch a young woman can't run from the people that just has shot her twice and can't run to the police.
Yeah.
And people are mad. We're getting ready to march this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and so you bring up a profound issue with this. Who's protecting Black women? Because Black women, the only are being called on to protect themselves.
Everybody else.
And everybody else.
And so
so who, again, if you're protecting everybody else, who's protecting you, right? And that really is Megan's story, is the story of repeatedly not being protected. Because not only was what she had to make a decision. I mean, my God, you getting shot twice. How are you even thinking straight? She had to make a decision in the moment of what she felt like was for her own safety and the safety of the people with her, right? They say, including the person who shot her. She, in that moment, she's thinking about Breonna Taylor. She's thinking about people being gunned down.
That moment.
She's thinking about, George Floyd. She's thinking about, Philando Castile. She's thinking about these people, right? In
that moment.
When she is in extreme duress. I've never been shot, right? But I'm like, I can't imagine that I would be.
She was shot twice.
Yes.
Twice.
Enough that she had to have surgery. I mean, not that there's I mean, if you get shot, I don't care if it's a graze, it's traumatic. But then the way she was treated after the fact, when she then said, you know what, what is his name? Tory Lanez shot me. Then for people to say, oh, she was accused of making it up.
Because she went into protection mode, because she didn't reveal all of the facts of the situation.
First of all, you need to tell us what happened, right? Again, like her personal business. Like again, she's supposed to violate her own personal boundaries. When she did tell, they said, "Oh, you're lying," right? And so, and again, the person who shot her is like, "Oh, she's lying," and went off and released an album and made a shit ton of money. So, I mean, it's just heaped on. It's just heaped on, and. So, I can't say I know what it's like to what you're feeling, Yalanda, but I can certainly be empathetic to say it's terrible. And that what Megan did, let's see, what does it say there?
Megan Thee Stallion, why I speak up for Black women.
Why I speak up for Black women. And
when I saw that headline, I'm like, okay, but she's a Black woman.
And I don't know if since you don't watch Saturday Night Live, one of the things she was commenting on is she was on Saturday Night Live the week before, and she did a whole musical performance that said protect Black women, and she called out Daniel Cameron in Kentucky, the Attorney General of Kentucky, for not bringing up charges. So she used that platform to make a statement on protecting Black women, and she got pushed back on that. Well, how dare you? How dare you turn your performance into something political, right?
In that moment, inspired by John Lewis, using her stage to start Good Trouble. And I was trying to find, there's a quote in here. She says, I would know. She says, I received quite a bit of attention for appearance as well as my talent. I chose my own clothing. Let me repeat, I chose what I wear, not because I'm trying to appeal to men, but because I am showing pride in my appearance, and a positive body image is central to who I am as a woman and a performer. And that's where the conflict comes in, because people want to say, but that one.
Right, but not that one. Right?
But not that one.
Right, but not that one.
If that's a question to us, because it is, we got to be real with the fact that it is a question.
And the video. See, this is where the video piece is so strong, because that video, I could not believe that made it into the New York Times. And this is your not that woman, right? This was showing a diversity of women, of Black women. And you had Megan's bare behind, right? You had you had a crotch shot, right? And I'm just like, and
on Saturday night.
No,
on the SNL
in the video that's on New York Times, there's a companion video to that op-ed that is a video.
And that's what.
Piece.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute.
I don't know if you saw the video, but I mean, it's close to explicit, right? But I thought it was making your point exactly, which is like
ad play. We'll play it.
Protect.
Let's grab a comment right quick on
protect all. And so what she's saying is protect all of these women. Black women. You got to protect all of these women. And these women are dressed. I don't even like the word provocatively, because I like what she says. I pick my clothes, I dress for me, right? But
loving herself, but not too much.
Play this.
She's conceited. Being his lady in the streets, but his freak in the sheets. Inheriting her grandma's love, but always loving the wrong one. Twerking for her man, but not with her friends. Being constantly told she's too much or not enough.
The most disrespected person is the Black woman.
Constantly having to prove she's a victim because society sides with a man. Not being able to express her traumas because she can't show no weakness. Is constantly told that she's too dark, too thin, too thick, too much of a bitch. Being murdered, beaten, abused, then questioned if she evoked all of it. Is left out on the streets, but becomes the flower that grows from the concrete.
Who taught you to hate your family from the top of your head to the soles of your feet?
She marches for everyone else, riots for everyone else, dies for everyone else. She loves everyone else, lives for everyone else. But when it comes down to her, it ain't a insight. The system as a whole has failed her. Never been shot. You don't know her pain. 18.
That's it.
That's where we are.
Yeah,
that's where we are.
And but I thought that the use of her words, her voice, right, and then the images of just a tremendous variety of women. But again, we would call, I'm going to call them the video girls, right? It's like she's making your point.
The video
these
vixens.
Women, these women too, right? These women too. All Black women deserve to be protected. And but when she pulls all this together and draws those contrasts, I mean, it was incredibly powerful. The op-ed, the full written op-ed, is also very powerful.
Well, you know what? And the interesting thing about it was her voice. Hearing the duality of her voice, doing all of this, because and again it comes back again to our generation, because I'm trying to understand this, because our generation, we think that this is new, or it's women going to a new high, a new low, a new medium. Our generation, these same women existed, but they were on a different plane. They were not in plain sight. Okay, they were not the girl next door. It was the girl next door, but she was shipped off somewhere else if she made these kinds of choices. So it created an inner conflict in us to be able to protect Black women. And yet here with, again, a woman with resources, still having to make some of those same decisions. So we got to say them too. And back to a comment we were talking earlier. This is, Belinda says, this is so true. I'm afraid to even call an ambulance right now because I know the police could follow. I would probably drive a person. And you know what? There are so many people being driven to the hospital nowadays. That right there is real. They're calling Uber the first the first responder doesn't look like you. And of course, Angela and I were both coming out of caregiving, so we know what first responders look like. We know what situation. Again, think about the video. They keep showing the video of, and we got our guests in the green room. Here we had a woman. And I think we all have to kind of say it to make sure the next time you see the video of Megan walking backwards with her hands up, keep in mind, this is the woman that had been shot twice, could not run to the police. She could not run into the arms of the policeman because she was afraid in the optics and all the optics that we have seen and for the last 50 years. 2020 is just a part of it. For the last 50 years, think about being the granddaughter, the great granddaughter of women for whom cannot dial 911.
Yeah.
Could not call police. We came into life knowing that there's two police. There's the police, and then there's the police that protect us from the police. And that's an everyday, daily thing. And so we had that. And so here we are. So we're talking about coming up this weekend, Protect Black Women. We're talking about Kamala Harris running for on the ticket as the vice president. We're talking about just the sheer thought that a black woman might be added to the Supreme Court. And now here comes this issue of y'all are trying to pack the courts. That's a new buzzword. Court packing the court. It's like, wait, just because simply black women want to be safe, we want a lifetime appointment of somebody making decision for us, making the kind of decisions that we would make. All right, so we're gonna switch gears here. It's about 2:19, and we've got a guest in the green room. I'm watching, let her get situated, and we'll bring her on so you can hear me. And I think she might be ready. So we're changing gears, guys. We're going to talk about voting because it's early voting. And again, I've got to, Stephanie said it wasn't her that sent the shirt. We got to find out who sent me the shirt. Pain, purpose, power equals policy. And when we, a march happening in DC this weekend called Protect Black Women, please go check out the hashtag before we move on. Protect Black Women. And you'll see, and as a matter of fact, the first thing that comes up is Megan's, the piece on Megan, and then of course the march on this weekend. So if anybody, you can head to DC this weekend, it'll be a chance to do that. And Angela's going to tell y'all as I bring our guest on, she's going to introduce our guest there. Hello, we have Miss Joyce Brewer and Angela. Why is Joyce joining us today?
You mean our Emmy award-winning journalist, co-creator and host of Mommy Talk Show by Joyce Brewer. There are our blogger, reporter extraordinaire. Why is Joyce Brewer with us today? Joyce is here to talk to us about early voting. Hi, Joyce.
Hi, Angela. Hey, Yalanda. Thank you for letting me come on. Yes, I voted today.
And how was your experience?
So I just moved within DeKalb County from one area to another area. So my first priority was, of course, getting my registration updated, making sure my driver's license new address was updated. And praise the Lord, all of those came in enough time that I could vote with no issues. I brought a friend along. We made a date months ago. We're saying we're going to vote the first week of early voting. We didn't plan to go Monday because I had a clue. I just had something in my spirit. It was like, it's going to be a hot mess. And with it being and all of those things, we're here in Georgia, that it was just a cluster, to say the least. So we waited until midweek, and then we went midday. We were in line in DeKalb County at Berean Christian Church, which is kind of like closer to Stone Mountain and Lithonia area. And we were in line by 11 a.m. and we were out of the line, done voting by 11:44 a.m.
Oh, wow. That's definitely different than the first day. Why do you think so many went out on the first day? Did they just want to get it over with, or did they want to be a part of something that was going to be significant? What happened Monday?
I think, there were a lot of people that already had the day off because it was Columbus Day.
Okay.
Day, however you consider it.
Right.
And I think people are so motivated by what is going on in this country. They wanted to just do it. It's like, I want my opinion known as soon as possible. So where I stand and who I stand for. But I'm glad I just waited. And I have the luxury of doing that since I work from home, to be able to do that. But I can't imagine the people who had to go on Monday, know their only day off. Wait until this coming weekend. Thankfully in Georgia, I believe we have 2 full weekends of early voting.
Yes.
So I presume those 2 weekends. And what do you think, Angela? Do you think it's going to be packed on the weekend too?
Yeah, I absolutely do. Just to back up a little bit, Georgia has made the news. I mean, we made the news. We made international news with the lines here. I mean, I saw somebody on Twitter who was from England and is like, "Why is everybody trying to go on the same day?" And it's, I'm like, yeah, it's like, like somebody said, well, there's several weeks of early voting. They're like, well, then why they all go on the same day? And I think you really touched it, is that people just want to get it done. I mean, I voted absentee, and as soon as I got that absentee ballot, I'm like, it was burning a hole in my hand. I'm like, I just want to get this filled out and away from me, and I want it in the box, and I want my notification. So, I mean, I think that was really driving that. But what I've seen, and just from following it, and I thought the same thing. Monday's going to be amazing. It's just going to be crazy. But that they're predicting that the 2 Saturdays will be really, really full. Mm-hmm. But what I'm seeing recommended is what you're doing. If you can go midweek, middle of the day, or the second week. They said the second week, if you can go in the weekday, is probably going to be the shortest lines. Mm-hmm. But the weekends will probably look like Monday, or close to it. Now, I'm curious, Joyce, the question I wanted to know about, because I anticipated that it would be bad because a lot of people requested absentee ballots. And when it looked like, we're worried about COVID, then we have the president who is going to interfere with the election by threatening absentee ballots. So this is voter intimidation. So people are like, no, I'm going to go and vote in person. I changed my mind. So they have to take those absentee ballots and have them canceled. Were you able to see when you were inside? Did it look like there were a lot of people who were turning in absentee ballots? Or could you tell? I don't know what it looks like inside the space.
I was listening for conversations like that, like you mentioned, Angela, because I have a few friends. I'm in the mom grouposphere, and a bunch of them requested the absentee ballot so that they wouldn't have to worry about child care and somebody getting sick and all those things. I did not hear anyone at that first table to read, where you just basically say, I'm going to vote early, or then the second stop where they're confirming that thing to you and they give you the little card that you put into the voting machine. Right. I didn't hear those conversations. Yeah. But I have told my friends who requested ballots, absentee ballots. I said, listen, if you change your mind, you do have to surrender that absentee ballot. You go and vote early. So make sure you bring it with you. Like, don't forget it. Because then, you just don't want to have multiple trips to the polls unless you have to, or those extra long wait times, like you mentioned.
Yeah. And then and I think that's really important. That's something that I've really been trying to drive home to people. I've been absentee voting for the last few years because of being in a caregiver situation. And I've been worried about missing my opportunity to go in person. So, I've learned, about the whole absentee ballot process. And I think a lot of people who this is their first time may not realize that, it's not just like you say, whoops, changed my mind and I'm going to go. And it's like, no, there's a whole process. You have to sign an oath. You have to void it. You have to sign an oath. And so what I heard from, what is Stacey Abrams' group? Is it called Fair Act? It's her voting organization. Was that some of the slowdown, especially in Cobb and Gwinnett, was canceling ballots, right? And because of social distancing, only so many people were allowed inside. So I'm curious, at your location, understanding that, I'm assuming most people who are watching understand how early voting works, is that you can go to any location. You're not going to a precinct. You're going to a location in your county. And so if your county has 5 locations or 10, or Fulton has 33, you can go to any, right? So if you're early voting, don't go to the main. Look, if you're in Cobb or Gwinnett, don't go to the main office. It's going to be worth the drive to not wait in that line. So like where you're talking about, you didn't go to the main DeKalb voting center. You went to, a location, a different location. But how many voting machines were in there? How are they handling social distancing? I'm curious about this. How are they handling it inside?
So, well, first people were, of course, social distancing outside, which was great. This was at a community center for a church. So we kind of formed like an L shape on the sidewalk. People were 5 to 6 feet away from each other. Everyone had masks on. Everyone had, a very upbeat demeanor. There were no issues. There were a couple of people who were on walkers and things that needed to get by, people moved to the side to let them go. Like, it was just, I'm like, if we could be like this every day and cooperate with each other to make things smoothly, could we just do this every day, people? Is what I kept thinking.
Yeah.
So once there were probably about 10 to 12 people in line in front of us and maybe 2 or 3 behind us. We crept up to the door. Of course, they want to make sure you're in the right place. They space you out. You go to that first table where, like I said, you're basically agreeing that you're getting a ballot to vote early. You put your address on it. They check your address. Then you go stand in a second line. You have to pack your patience when you are voting in person, because it's going to be a line outside, a line to the table, a line to the second table to get your card for the ballot machine. And then there were easily, again, it was like another L shape. There were probably 4 or 5 machines for people with disabilities that had, the handicap sticker on it. And then 10 to way and 10 to 12 that way. And we're in a church gym. So it was well spread out. Everyone had a great demeanor. And once you got your card and your ballot and you go to the machine, you vote, you have to then go take your printed ballot to go through the scanner. And then they give you your I voted sticker, which I left mine in the car. Otherwise, I'm proudly displaying it.
So, and you mentioned, so the reason I reached out to Joyce, other than Joyce is my friend, Joyce is the friend that I watch public funerals with. She and I are public funeral viewers. That when anybody's famous has a funeral on TV, we have our own little church. We have a little amen corner where we cry and yell and I virtually throw myself on the coffins and things like that. So anyway, Joyce is my funeral buddy, among many things. But y'all
are the obit crew.
We are, and I'm like I said, I got to get my church lady hat so that I can wear my hat when we do this. We should live stream it one time. But Joyce had a video this morning about having gone to, so I watched Joyce's videos. And so she had a video about going to vote. And so I was interested in the whole thing, but I wanted you to talk a little bit, because this caught my attention, about poll watchers. You mentioned that there was a poll watcher from the Democratic Party at the poll. And I think that this is one of the things that there's some confusion around. So could you just talk about what that was like, what people might expect, what does it look like if it's right?
So I met my friend Brittany, and she got to the church first. So she was waiting for me, and she noticed the poll watcher, who was, when we say poll watcher, he was in the parking lot, away from people, not talking to anyone directly. He was standing there with a mask on, with a pen and a pad, noting things. So she noticed him first. And then got in line. Brittany looked at her watch, and it said 11 o'clock sharp. So in our minds, we're going to, how long is it going to take us to, we went through those steps that I told you, and we walked outside the door, and we both looked at our watches, and it said 11:44. So when we're walking back to ours, we just nodded at the gentleman who we had noticed before, and he says, "It took y'all 45 minutes, didn't it?" And we both said yes. He says, "I am here on behalf of the Democratic Party, monitoring how long it took." So he probably could tell from our body language and everything that we were together, because we didn't distance from, basically stood next to each other. So I don't know if he put like tall white lady with orange pants and black lady with gray shirt, but he had some identifier that put us together. And then when we came back out, so he must have noted our step on the line time, and he noticed our come out. And he said that he, again, is working on behalf of the Democratic Party. He reports his results back several times a day. We engaged in a couple of conversations with him because although my friend Brittany lives in North DeKalb, she was nice enough to come over to, Southeast DeKalb to vote with me. And he said that he voted someplace else in Northern DeKalb, and that the wait times were much less. He noted that on other. So, I mean, he was not in any sort of way approaching people or being intimidating or anything like that. He was a very inconspicuous man unless you struck up a conversation with him, I would say.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good to know, right? Because one of the things that there are legal poll watchers. This man is a legal poll watcher. There are illegal poll watchers. and those are the ones that just take it on themselves and to be, to be intimidating. And I heard a report, and I probably shouldn't even say it because I can't verify it. I did hear it from a reporter that was talking about a family member that was voting, and then someone else said that they had a family member at the same location. Was one of the Fulton County locations, and somebody said that a white woman was going through the line telling people the machines were down, right? And that someone said, who is this woman, right? They reported it to somebody that was there, and the poll, somebody came out from the poll and said, this is not true. The machines are not down. And so that right there was some straight up, voter intimidation, voter suppression, right? So I was reluctant to say it, but I do want to say, if someone tells you something, right, you want to make sure that they are duly authorized to be telling you that. And it's a shame that we have to say that, right? But we do, right? So I think this is very good. If someone says they're a poll watcher, what you just described is how that should go down. If someone is an official that is working at the poll, they're going to have identifying information, right? They're going to be able to show you something.
The people inside, once we went inside, they all had name tags on. They were all clear that these people were working for the county and working in an official capacity. I would not listen to some rando who came up to me and directed me to do anything.
Yeah.
I want someone with a name tag, identified, and they all were.
Yeah.
And we also are talking about, people will take a cue from somebody else. If you guys were coming out and you appear to be satisfied with the process, that's going to encourage people to stay in line. People coming out and they're like, oh, this wasn't going, it's like people are listening for that. People are watching for those things. And also, I think on the West Coast, they were saying that there were some drop-off boxes that weren't legit. Yeah. So, go and do that little extra check and see what the signature looks like, what a person should have on, what the box, what are the identifiers of those boxes. Just because it says drop off your ballot here doesn't mean, to put your ballot in there. And then, like you said, Angela, you watch diligently to make sure yours was accepted. You got your notification, because what happens if you put your ballot in the wrong place and you don't get, your verification? What do people need to do there? Just, check and look and make sure you get resources. Stacey Abrams was on. She's doing a number of live streams. She's along with the politicians, and they are talking about day-to-day issues. And they're giving the phone numbers. Make sure that you are equipped with the phone number so that you can call and report things, or even just to ask questions, because there are people that are available to help you throughout this entire process. And you want to make sure that people get the resources they need.
Absolutely. There's voter protection organizations, and I should have had one pulled up here to share. If you did go to the poll and something happened and you weren't able to complete your vote, right? Or if your absentee ballot seems to have gone astray, this is why you go early, right? There are organizations that will help you find out exactly who do you call, who do you talk to, right? Because you're going to have to go to, to the elections board of your county. There's processes for all these things. So I think that this is where, we don't want to be, I don't want to be overly afraid, right? Because I get stressed.
Right,
and I'm worried.
right.
I don't think we need to be overly afraid, but I do think we're going to have to be diligent. And I thought it was interesting looking at the people on Monday who waited 6, 7, 10, 11 hours, right? That the feedback that was coming to them from the rest of the world was, you're heroes, stay in the line. And, I think people really feel that. And you're a hero if you go and vote, if you're a hero. And it's like, I felt like just doing my absentee ballot, I was like I had to run an obstacle course, right? And I had to, dodge and dip, and okay, they're going to change this. So I'm going to go over here and this. And I was like, I feel like this is all of us trying to vote is like, it's like a military course, and there's a bomb over here, and then there's snipers, and you got to go low and whatever. And you're like, I made it. I voted. So, this is all of us. And, Georgia, we're in the news today. Who knows who will be in the news tomorrow? This is the way it's going to be. And I do think that high volume is people just wanting to get it done. But Joyce, I think you had a great example of having a plan. You had a plan, you analyzed it, you looked at what your schedule was. So let's come up with a plan. I love that you had somebody you could go with, take a friend so you take a friend and take a chair, if you need it. But hopefully we're here in Georgia, it's going to calm down. But wherever you're looking at this, if early voting has not started for you, I guarantee you it's going to be the same this first few days.
Right.
People are, and they're staying in line. The reason a person is in line 11 hours is that they stayed, and instead of saying I'll come back another day, and it's because people want to get it done. So
and
was
keep
great.
in mind, not everybody has to vote on your day off. You are allotted some time to go to the polls, so don't think that you have to use your day off or your weekend. You are allotted time, but plan well so that you don't have to disadvantage where you work, but make sure you do. I mean, this is a very powerful thing, and like you said, more people are engaged in this one because it is such a highly anticipated race. Stacey Abrams' group is Fair Fight. Is the Fair Fight?
That's it.
Yep, and there are a number of voter protection agencies out there for people to look into. I think one thing you guys mentioned that people didn't realize is that if they order, because this is what I think some of our candidates are depending on, is people who order those absentee ballots and then don't follow through. So not a lot of people know that you then have to surrender that if you decide to go ahead and vote in person. So that you guys gave a lot of insight there on that particular process.
And if you need information on that, you can go to my personal Facebook page, Angela Stalkup. It's Angela.Stalkup if you're entering it directly. And I've posted the absentee ballot guide for the state of Georgia. So wherever this would be for Georgia voters. Wherever you are, you can go to the Secretary of State's office for your state, and you want to find your county, because while states administer elections, it's also the local county that you live in administers your election, and see if what the details are about your process. And I think, again, even if you've been voting a long time, it's worth it just to refresh your memory of how do you cast, for example, if there's a problem, how do you cast a provisional ballot? You have the option to do that. And then it's called, you got to go fix your ballot afterward. So I think it's just good to know and have this. So, Yalanda, since we have Joyce here, Joyce, I'm going to throw you into the mix. We're talking about Megan the Stallion, and then this protest that's going on in DC called Protect Black Women. So I'm just throwing you in cold. Is that okay, Yalanda, if we let Joyce comment on this?
I think some people are waiting for that, but they also want to thank you guys on this one. Tati was saying that this is a great conversation. One more reminder to people in the early voting. The early voting is not taking place at your regular polling place.
Yes.
That these are special locations, so you need to see, call, check, go online again to the Secretary of State. Even remember also on your Facebook, you can go on your Facebook. Let me make sure I show you guys that. Yeah. If you go on and I was reading Megan's thing here, on your Facebook, if you click the 3 lines at the bottom, if you have an iPhone, those 3 lines in the corner, and click that, and then scroll down to Town Hall. There's a Town Hall section on your Facebook. You can, and there's a voter section as well to let you know where you need to go for your for early voting. Early voting, please do not be standing in line at the wrong place and have to go somewhere else. So double check what your polling place is.
And you may encounter a poll watcher who is checking to make. There are poll watchers who will verify that you're in the right place. So some poll watchers are there for that purpose as well, to make sure you're in the right place. And I do want to one thing. I tried to transition us, and I'm not ready to transition us.
I know, right? So much
is understand that the people working at your poll. I mean, something that I saw here. And Joyce, you can comment. I would like for you to comment on what you saw on social media in the last couple of days, right? About voting. People are like, these long lines, voter suppression, right? Cobb County and Gwinnett, they're Republican controlled. That's just, understand that the people working at the polls, right? These are people who, they get paid a little bit, but basically they're volunteers. And for years, I know in Cobb County, I tried to volunteer to work at the poll, and it's like, mostly they were retired people, and they got their thing, and you don't get in, right? They've been doing it a long time, but with the coronavirus, a lot of them are not doing it. So we have new people. We have a lot of new people working at the polls, and I think that so be careful when you're in the line, and you're like, something you feel like isn't going right. A lot of these people are Democrats who have volunteered to work these polls. So understand that they're probably not trying to suppress you, the poll worker, right? they're there probably because they really want to make sure things are done correctly. But they're probably new. So I'm just, Joyce, what did you notice just in sort of the rhetoric and discourse around what was happening on Monday and Tuesday here?
Like you said, I got texts and, alerts and messages from friends who live outside of Georgia, again, wondering what the heck is going on down there, the same way that they were wondering, what was going on here, when the coronavirus cases were high. And, if people in New York and other states are checking on you, typically pretty bad.
Yeah.
But what I can say is Monday was probably about as I expected it was going to be. And maybe I'm just, I'm a preparer. I've done this before. Angela, I remember being in the TV newsroom in 2000 of Gore versus Bush and the hanging chads and all that. And I fully expect it to be probably 100 times worse on November 3rd, that night.
Yeah.
And that whole next week.
Yeah.
After the election. I fully expect that if things don't go in Trump's favor, he is going to kick and scream like a 2-year-old who wants a toy to keep from leaving office. But I expect that if it's, in his favor, then of course all he can to, reassure people that, oh, this is right. Even though he's sowed those seeds of what would you call it? Those seeds of, to put those questions in people's
seeds of doubt. Yeah.
Doubt. Be legitimate. If it's in his favor, it will be. If it's not in his favor, there's going to be a whole bunch of doubt about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of concern about that whole lame duck, right after the election, going out into the year if Trump does not. In fact, even on the COVID call, they were talking about what, there's so many people ready to jump into action hopefully when Biden and Kamala win, to get ahead of this, to get ahead of how we're dealing with COVID, right? And so there's a lot of concern there as to what this current administration will do until we get new people into office. So just in between November and December, people are so afraid of what's going to happen during that time. When Trump loses, as to what because he still will have power, and so everything is beholden to that. And then of course, if they win, what does this look like for us? And I think people are it's going to be interesting to see. It's like right now, you have to arm yourself with information. Make sure that you are following true sources and so forth. On the rally, I pulled up the information on the rally. Actually, y'all, this looks so interesting. I'm really thinking about heading up out of here. Protect Black Women rally to DC. It's going to take place at the Black Lives Matter Plaza in DC, and then there's a rally after that it says join us in Washington DC on Friday, October the 16th. Keep in mind that October the 16th isn't that the anniversary of the Million Man March. At 3:00 at the Black Lives Matter Plaza as we march and then rally at the MLK Monument. The act of formation is called the Protect Black Women. We are placing a call to action and asking other organizations and voices of power to stand in solidarity and holding America's judicial system accountable to past, present, and protection of our future. The event will highlight and acknowledge women killed as a result of police brutality that will include the past and up to the most recent cases. Also invited are the families of those killed to speak and share their stories. And so again, you got to imagine this is a headline about women, so it's not out there and it's not everywhere. So, but you heard it here on Leading Women Weekly. And if you can't be there, please find some of the virtual sources that you can also participate virtually as well. So, and many are already in DC now. I think they are there watching the hearing on the SCOTUS appointment and then of course this as well. So
Yeah.
that's our week, y'all. Go ahead.
That's it. Yeah. So
Mhm.
so Joyce, before we go, and I tell you something that we're going to do after the election is I'm hoping that we'll put together a little panel discussion, because we'll broadcast the November 4th will be our day. So maybe Joyce, we can have you back
Mhm.
to discuss, and then but to your point, it'll probably be a full another week. Sometime in the next couple of weeks, we would want to have you back to discuss what we're seeing with your reporter's eye, which I think is always so very interesting. But I'm going to just give you a chance. I don't know if you have followed we were starting before you came on talking about Megan Stallion's New York Times op-ed. I'm curious, has that hit your feed? Your social feed? Is anybody talking about that?
Not as of today, because of course I was in mom mode. I had to pick up groceries and vote. I had another call and I came straight back home. I heard the tail end of you and Yolanda's conversation. And I do want to point out, if anybody missed Meg Thee Stallion's performance on Saturday Night Live 2 weeks ago, she was I love the way she used the artwork to talk about protecting Black women, protecting, the memory of Breonna Taylor, all of those things. And even Fred, who is a comedian on Saturday Night Live, he had a very good tweet. He was like, this woman was twerking while highlighting, the need to protect herself. And sometimes we try to discredit people because they do certain things in a certain way or because she's suggestive. No, more than one thing can be true at a time. She can be in charge of her sexuality and use that however she feels fit, but she's also saying, I matter. The women who in my industry, the women who work at the grocery stores and do all of these things matter. Protect Black women. I thought she did a great job of doing that. I don't know who came up with the concept or who orchestrated it, but the lighting and the artwork for that was amazing. And she's been very vocal, because I watch TV a lot, Angela. So that's probably the biggest source of my Meg / Tory Lanez information. But like you said, she held out for as long as she could as even not identifying the person who assaulted her.
Well, that's what we talked about,
I heard her
Joyce.
talk about, she was saying, I was scared to get out the car. We're all Black people in this car. The police have surrounded us. There's helicopters. She's like, I don't want to snitch on someone and then we all get shot.
Let me ask you this though. Have we not asked enough questions on that? Like, why was there a helicopter? How did it come to them being in this vehicle?
Go ahead.
Yeah, just a little bit of lag.
A little bit of lag, yeah.
They were leaving a party at the Kardashians, right? One of the Jenners, right? How did it come that there would be a police, coming up on them and a helicopter? What are we missing in this scenario that we're here? What are we missing in this? And I think she's lagging a little bit.
Yeah, we got a lag. We're waiting expectantly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, she might have to reset and come in.
Yeah.
But that's the part.
There we go. There we go.
TMZ reports, I believe that because he fired the firearm outside of the car, the sound.
Oh, the sound.
Other people called the police because the sound was so widespread.
And it was a rich neighborhood, right? Wasn't this like a very shishi if one of the Kardashian Jenners lives there? Yeah. And so it was, again, I felt, I think so. But I was like, seems to me like this is a neighborhood where they're going to scramble everything. This is another reason why I'm sure she was worried about being shot and people in the car being shot. was the neighborhood. So yeah. No, Joyce, I'm like, Joyce is my go-to also for TMZ information because she's done the whole TMZ thing. All right, well, Yalanda, we're coming up on time, so we want to let Joyce go.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Joyce.
Thanks, Joyce.
And Angela, as I exit her out of back into the green room, just kind of refresh everybody who she was, so that they can follow her. In fact, she's got a little bit of delay. I'm gonna drop her back in here real quick. Okay, wait, because her .com is on there, mommytalkshow.com, and she's got a little bit of delay. So Angela, if you would just tell everybody again who we had on.
Yeah, so
she didn't miss the follow.
Right, this is Joyce Brewer. She is the creator and host of Mommy Talk Show, a blog. She does video as well as print blogging. I don't know what we call it, print. She's an Emmy award-winning journalist who takes that reporter experience and brings it to the world of moms and issues related to moms, which really is issues related to us all. And so Joyce is always a great source of information. She's something I appreciate about you, Joyce, is that you're always on top of things. You're up on pop culture, you're up on the news, but you're up on then the issues that are facing parents and families, and particularly in this time with coronavirus. So follow Mommy Talk Show. Follow Joyce on all of her platforms. Joyce, you want to tell us all the places we find you so that people can follow you? We don't have any sound.
I think we've lost our sound and everything.
We'll make sure it's on the page, but you can see it here. mommytalkshow.com. Yeah.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
Let me get that. Thank you so much. That was Joyce Brewer. Share with us her experience of getting out the early voting. Again, guys, keep in mind, make sure if you are dropping off your ballot, that you are dropping off your ballot in the prescribed boxes. If you are early voting, please double check, because your early vote is not in the same place as your regular precinct. So you want to make sure that you are going to the right places, and just check your sources. Make sure you check your source. You can always depend on Leading Women Weekly, because we try and take you to the source and have some good conversation. Gender specific. Lots to cover this week because we were off last week and coming into this. And Angela, hashtag protect Black women. I pulled it up on Facebook, and I can just imagine. Let me see what it looks like on Twitter. Now, it's some good conversation on there, but not enough. And what I don't want is people to find this after the fact, because we want people to that's why we're here. We want people to be able to participate in this early on. Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Twitter is a whole other thing. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
You said a word.
Twitter, check it out, but check it out on all platforms. If you haven't read Megan Thee Stallion piece in the New York Times, and of course the companion video. Also, it's different from the video from the performance of Saturday Night Live, but also check out the Saturday Night Live. And I think where the intersectionality of this is, we oftentimes turn to the scholars for the discussion and the debate. And everybody, this is about bringing everybody to the table and so forth. And Tachi says, thank you guys for a great show. So thank you. Wait a minute. Belinda says, and I didn't see this, someone dropped a dime on them for even being in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. See, that's what the concern was. They were waiting on an opening prior to anything happening. And see, that again is the concern, is being in a place and knowing that you're entitled to be into that place. Black women have to question that all the time. If you one of the things that I have to do, I have to make sure I do. You know what my protest is? I try to walk out of the store without my receipt in my hand. That's my daily protest, right? I listen, you want to put my receipt in the bag? When they ask that question, Black women have had to say, no, I'll take it, because we're going to get stopped, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, put it in the bag. I'm entitled to that kind of freedom. But again, safety, I was born into this being an issue. Safety, that's my daily protest to suppress my own fears of walking out of the store without my receipt in my hand and just having to deal with it. And but that's a conscious decision that I have to make every time I buy something. Like, it's okay to put the receipt in the bag. Am I gonna just stop and have to dig in that bag? I mean, it's sad, but here we are. This is where we are. No matter who was it? Somebody else just had that. The guy who works at Versace. Was it Versace? The guy that works there walked out with a bag and was accosted by security or a police or whatever. It was like vice president of something, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Walking out of the store with a bag and having to explain why he was leaving the store with a purchase. You know, but that's what we're dealing with. But the problem is we never get around to the clap. We hear about the clapback and the pushback, but we never get around to what that is and why that is and who causes that to be a thing every day. And then when you have the discussion, there are those that'll say, you know, and this goes on to the white privilege side. Oh, I didn't even realize that. I didn't know. Black people didn't realize. You mean I get to walk out of the store? Yeah, you get to walk out of the store with anything, whether you pay for it or not. You get to just stroll on out of here. I was in a Walmart one time, which is one of the reasons I don't go to the Walmart. It's like there was a guy and a lady walking out with a whole buggy full of stuff. And what went off was a CD. So I'm standing there in line paying for my stuff and I'm watching them. They're getting ready to walk right out the door. The guy goes up and literally, oh, your CD did that. And he grabs the CD. Now, mind you, the CD is in the security case. Oh, they forgot to take the security. No, they didn't. Yeah. They just came with the whole buggy from electronics and walking right out of the door. And the dude runs over to them, grabs their buggy. Oh, I'm sorry. We forgot to take the security thing off. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, you just gave them like 9 CDs, not to mention all the other stuff that was in the buggy, right? But here I am in line paying for my stuff. Yep. And it's still, and one of the reasons, and I'm gonna go back. One of the reasons I think I haven't shopped, I've only shopped at Walmart within the last 5 years, and the only reason I went there is because my mother absolutely refused to move her prescriptions. And Walmart, keep in mind, I talk about Walmart. Walmart is directly across the street. I could walk to Walmart. I refuse to shop in Walmart because if you remember, in the last decade, there was so many cases of how harsh they were to Black women. Black women just wanted to protect their space. Let me tell you, I love this whole 6 feet thing. I've been trying to get 6 feet in Walmart like
forever,
right? Can you stand back? But there were so many cases within the last decade, starting 10 years ago, of just all this aggressiveness to Black women, and it was people accosting Black women, and then the what was supposed to make them safe, harassing them. You know, I can't call a cop because cop's gonna harass me, and I hate to say that because I know in times, and well, I didn't call them, but I have had some great experience because I've been involved in public safety in Atlanta for a long time. But at the same time, even knowing every police chief in this city, you know, in the outlying areas, I still am afraid to call 911. And I can't even, let me tell you, I don't save numbers in my phone because if anybody ever gets a hold of my phone with the kind of contacts that I have, you know, I've gone to lunch with the FBI, like, help us with this social media stuff. And I would never call. I just can't. Right? And this, I want that to change, which is why I think I'm going to try and get to DC. Well, this week. I want it to change.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not that I want us to have to call police or be able to call police. You know, it's like it is an act of terrorism.
Yes.
When there's this much trauma coming from this, there is an act of terrorism, an aggressive act of terrorism going on in this country against Black women right now, simply because of all those we do protect. Just like Megan said in that video, you know, we protest for everybody. We stand up for everybody. But like I'm on here now looking at this hashtag protect Black women, and it's just us. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And a few fellas. You know, it's not the world. You know, everybody ran out for Black Lives Matter, and that's fine, and that's great that we are there. That's another generation as well. But there are those of us that are traumatized by what we are. Belinda said, "I would like you all to discuss the word." Hold on, let me get that. She's giving us something to discuss next week. I would like you all to discuss the word submitting, and what it is for women, especially Black women, in a time of sex trafficking. As a matter of fact, I've been in talks with Shay. She has a new position and is out on the road, and so we'll check in with Shay, get her on next week. We haven't talked to her in a while. Who is our liaison to the industry that is eradicating sex trafficking, and so we'll definitely get her on. All right, you're at your stop.
Yep, and good topic, Belinda, because I also this submitting as relates to white supremacy, and I have thought a lot about that, about how this sort of biblical concept has been twisted to make women work against each other. So this will be a great topic. There's a lot of angles on that.
We should probably let's make that the goal for this quarter, is bringing on these topics where women are working against each other,
working across purposes.
That's what we're talking about. We finished up 2 books. Cast and Memorial Drive was awesome and amazing.
And
2 good books. Yes,
we have good news about Cast. Ava DuVernay has optioned Cast, and she's going to do something with it. I don't know if it's going to be the story of Isabel Wilkerson, or I don't know what she's doing. But they just announced it about an hour before we went on that Ava has optioned Cast.
Yes, because Ava has said, you know, she wanted to do something lighthearted. That's not lighthearted. She's not. She's going to be that. I hope she gets to
do like one of these cute little Christmas movies that are coming out or something.
I know. Oh, wouldn't that be? I'm so ready for Christmas movies. A lot.
Did you see?
We're in Atlanta. There was a lot of Christmas movies filmed here, so get ready for that. Did I see what?
There's Tessa Thompson is in a cute little Christmas romance. I just saw that, and I was that's, you know, which looks like it's set in the 50s or 60s. So I mean, there's some really cute stuff that's coming out, and I was like, oh, this
and we need it. We need some good romance,
just need some good romance. Yeah. So all right.
So anything else on the horizon? Any other books we should check out?
So you were reading Mariah Carey. I am not caught up with you.
Honey, I did Mariah Carey's book like that. It was so good. It was so good. And now I'm on Andre Leon Talley. Finishing that up.
Yes,
honey, that diva right there. Okay, that man, that's a diva. He's a bitter, broken-hearted diva. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and he got done wrong. He got done wrong.
Not only did he get done wrong, but he was all up and complicit in his own wrongdoing. Yeah. Okay, and that's what they said. It sounds like in this book that he's trying to figure it out, because they said that if he was really ready to talk, there's a lot that they said he could have said, and they said that it reads. I had to go and read the reviews on it, because I'm like, wait, this is odd, because it sounds like he's ready to clear some things, but at the same time, it sounds like a couple of people could make a call and he'd be right back in it, which sounds like what he wants. I need to read that, says Tati. Yeah, so we'll wait for Angela to give us our next because I reactivated my Audible.
Okay, well, I've got 3 books right now.
What are you reading now?
So I've got 3 that I'm reading concurrently. One is Imani Perry's book Breathe, and it is basically Ta-Nehisi Coates written by a woman, right? So it's a letter to her son, and it is beautiful. It's beautiful. It's moving. But it's a very emotional read, but beautiful. I mean, it's written like poetry. Again, it makes me think of Memorial Drive. It's poetry. So Imani Perry, Breathe. I'm looking. Oh gosh, and I can't. The book's in the other room. Morgan Jerkins is the author. She's a young woman, and it's called Wandering. Oh gosh, Wandering. Well, we'll put a pin on that. And she's a millennial who went back to research her Southern roots as a child of the Great Migration. And then my 3rd book that I just got is Claudine Rankin. It's called Just Us, and It's a play. I believe it's Richard Pryor's joke. The only just us. You go to court for justice, and I'll use just us, right? And so it's she's a award-winning poet. I think she got a Pulitzer Prize for Citizen. So I just got that. This is not poetry. This is actually a book of essays that she did talking about, particularly she's a Yale, Princeton, Harvard. She's a Ivy League professor, and sort of what those interactions are like. She wanted just to talk to particularly white men about racial justice, and so it's supposed to be very interesting. So I just started that. So
well, one last thing that was on your timeline. You can tell I've been trolling your timeline. Your likes over there. The Nikki Giovanni, who was doing that?
Oh, we got to do that on. That's tomorrow. That's Kiese Lehman. And Nick is interviewing Nikki Giovanni, and as when Yalanda saw it, she says, "Girl, we gotta get our popcorn."
That's eliminating popcorn interview. Look, Angela and I both. Y'all, if you have not watched these people out here trying to interview Nikki Giovanni,
it's Nikki Giovanni. Oh God. Okay,
I think we should put in our request.
Yes, we should see if we can get Nikki, because she's got it. She's got a new book of poetry. She's got new poetry. We should read that.
Understands the whole virtual thing now. I think we should put in our.
I think that Kiese is going to be able to handle it very well. First of all, he's a fantastic interviewer. He's been doing lots of interviews. He absolutely adores Nikki Giovanni. He was raised on Black feminist literature. And I think
that can get you in trouble though. When you absolutely adore her.
Well, I think So it'll be interesting to see. But I'm with you. I'm like, I just want to see it just to see.
Don't let you miss that one.
I watch, honestly, anytime Kiese talks to anybody, I want to hear what he's saying. He has become such a leader. I am such a fan of him. And he's become such a leader in promoting other authors, other Black authors. And there is a group that has formed around him that I think is going to be, we're going to look back on the last couple of years and say that group that formed around Kiese Lehman, which is Franklin Leonard. It's, I'm blanking.
Do what
Jessamine
I do.
Ward.
Go over and follow Angela on Twitter at Angela Stalker.
You want to know somebody who's stalking?
Okay.
And look at I stalk Kiese Lehman's author interviews. Follow him and see who he's talking to, because he is really on the cutting edge of Black literature and Black thought leadership, and also about he is trying to reclaim Mississippi. And it's just Southern Black voices. I really appreciate what he's doing. And he himself is a fantastic author. So but no, we're going to, I can't believe we forgot that. October 15th, Kiese Lehman, look at his line, look at my timeline, or go look at him.
I have been, this is me all day. Siri, set an alarm.
Yeah. So, and I think is that at 7:30? It would be Eastern time. It will be, but you'll see. I'm sure you have to register. You may have to purchase a book. I didn't see that you had to, but that's going to be very interesting. We will be talking about that. And Nikki Giovanni,
I hope everybody feels the relief that I feel for us taking this time and coming together and talking over some of these things. Because if you don't jump on somebody's video, just think of people trying to process all of this by themselves. All right, listen, I got to tell y'all, on Fridays, I love the new labels. What do you think of the new labels? Isn't that awesome?
That's fantastic.
All right, listen, you know that we have our Shop Dryer Buzz, shopdryerbuzz.com, where you can go. We have the soaps that are out. These are two that we're restocking. It's our activated charcoal, and then, of course, the Shuri bath. But this one right here, this is on the secret menu. This was a test soap, okay? This one is a buttermilk soap. And when I tell you, it just came off the curing rack, and I showered with it twice already. This is your milk bath right here. Now, it's funny because you would think a buttermilk soap wouldn't be a beautiful brown soap, right?
Right.
Okay, but it is, and it's going to get darker and darker. And it smells. I gave it a beautiful holiday scent. I'm only doing 5 of these this week on our $5 Friday. In fact, there are 5 on the site now.
Wow.
Okay. Until we put this fully in the line, this was a test batch, and it passed, and the numbers on this is insane. I washed my hands with the piece of it, and I'm like, I had to go take a whole shower. I had already had a shower. It was just that. This is an amazing new recipe that will be available on the site. And let me tell you guys, on Friday, we're probably gonna like chill out for the rest of the week. But you want to meet me live on Friday? I'll be live on Friday, and we'll tell you about the 5. She said, Belinda says, I love my soap. The scent to this one is our holiday scent, you guys. And so anyway, but listen, go to shopdryerbuzz.com. We're going to soon have some leading women stuff. I'm hoping to get Angela's book over there in the bookstore, but definitely some of the books and things like that she recommends. But thank you guys, and thank you, Angela, for coming together with me each week. And I've been thinking about Leading Women Wednesday, since we are now on Wednesday, because I know we were doing weekly before. Because we were on a couple times during the week, but Wednesdays at 1:30, 10:30 a.m. Pacific. Just shout out Tachi. Tachi will be on tonight at 6 for Media Scope.
Don't miss that.
She comes on as a contributor to us. So we definitely want to tell you, Wednesday, your broadcasts are still going. Catch her tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, and y'all subtract, 3 p.m. on the Pacific time, and so forth. And then thanks, Belinda, for giving us that topic next week. She wants us to talk about submitting, and she says as well as marriage. So we'll keep that going. We have to get Belinda to come on up with that marriage thing, because neither Angela nor us. We didn't go that route. So Belinda, you may have to get camera ready and come on with us as we talk about submit. And lastly, Belinda's organization and ministry, Put It on the Porch. Cash App, Put It on the Porch. They are delivering to families in need and seniors and people who cannot get out in this pandemic. They are putting it on the porch. And thank you guys so much for all of your support on Friday. A portion of the proceeds, we already made our donation to them this week, and they were able to go out and do something immediately with that. So just know that portion of the proceeds that you spend at Shop Dryer Buzz, we do make a donation to Put It on the Porch. It's part of their Won't He Do It ministry. All right, Angela, I know you got to go. All right, everybody have a great day. Angela, wave and tell everybody goodbye. Did you have any leading women words before we go?
Yes, and I just try to stay as calm as possible for the next couple of weeks. Yeah. And and remember that, have a plan A, a plan B, take a little extra time to educate yourself, and, share that information with your family and your network, and just verify. I think the wisdom is verify everything you're sharing. Make sure things are coming from a good source, but, it's like, we're going to get there. We're just going to have to be we may have to be a little bit more patient, as you said, in lines and so forth, but, it's okay. And, we're going to do it. We're plugging through. And so it's, it's easy to become afraid, and and fear sells attention, keeps you online. It keeps you watching the news. It's have your plan, work your plan. And I tell you that's always true to help calm you, is to have a plan and then work the plan. So, and thanks everyone who is making the effort to participate in this process. It's deeply appreciated, and, I appreciate.
Yeah. We're moving the needle, and that's what we wanted to do. We are, in fact, moving the needle, and we're going to keep going. All right, y'all. Say bye, Angela.
Bye.